All right, guys, we're gonna make some mashed potatoes today. We're gonna do a unique combination, and we're gonna show you the different varieties and variations of mashed potatoes that you can do. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off here. We've got some white russet potatoes, and then we have some yellow Idaho potatoes. You can also use Yukon Gold potatoes. Technically, you can use sweet potatoes, any kind of potatoes if you want. Do combinations depending on the taste that you like. But we're going to try these, and what we're going to do is we're going to peel them first. Okay? So we're going to put a couple paper towels down here or something down here, and then we're going to compost that, throw that stuff away after we peel it off. God, I wish I could hold this phone a little better. I don't have a stand. So we're peeling the potatoes now. Okay, we're gonna skip through this part, don't worry. Oh yeah, while we're peeling those potatoes, we gotta boil some water. So we're gonna put some cold water in here, and we're gonna boil this. So speaking of, we're using cold water instead of hot water, so it boils naturally. We're also not putting the salt in yet, just because we're gonna add it for flavoring. I guess it probably really doesn't matter that much, but salt can make water boil significantly quicker. And we want to make sure to get this water up to the right temperature. So that's why I'm doing it at cold and not hot. And I'm going to add the salt and some of the seasonings while the potatoes are in here boiling. Sorry for the over explanation, but keeping it simple. So we're going to get this boiling. Okay, so we've got the potatoes peeled here. You can see we're going to go ahead and compost this, but what we're going to do with these is we chop the russet potatoes in half because they're so much bigger than these other ones. We don't want the small ones to cook and these big ones to not cook. And so ultimately what we did was we chopped them smaller pieces. The other thing is too is, like, you can see this is not a very big portion of potatoes. You're going to probably want, if you're doing it for a family, a lot of potatoes, like, 8 to 12, maybe more, depending on how many russet potatoes you have compared to these little guys. These little guys, you need definitely more than a dozen. But that's something to keep in mind too. I'm making a small portion today, show you guys the different variations you can do. And you just change the portions of how much other stuff you add to these. So I'm going to show you, you can use heavy cream. You can also use milk, whole milk, low-fat milk, fat-free milk, dairy-free milk, all kinds of milks. But ultimately, some people do it with cream, other people do it with milk and butter. And so really, we're just going to throw these in and boil these. So once the water gets to boiling, we're going to drop these in there. And then once the water's boiling and we drop these in here, we kind of get it a little bit back up to a little boil, and then we're just going to drop it down to simmer and do that for about 15 minutes. I'm going to show you the different ways to tell of when your potatoes are fully cooked, but also you can add your seasonings during that period, so stay tuned. While we're waiting for it to boil, we're just going to go ahead and put this in our little bin here so we can compost all this wonderful leftover scrap. So always make sure to compost if you can. Oh yeah, while we're at it, does anybody have an air fryer out there? I got one given to us by my mother-in-law earlier today, and I'm really excited for it. And if you guys have any ideas, please feel free to let me know, because I'm super excited to use this thing. I love cooking. Sorry about that. We're almost ready to put this in here. I'm just covering it to make it boil a little quicker, but like I said, I didn't use the salt because I didn't want to boil it too quickly and get the temperature up to the right level before I drop these guys in here, because really it does matter. If you want them to simmer and cook slowly, kind of at a higher temperature for a shorter amount of time, you want to make sure to cook them all the way through. You're going to want to make sure to get this thing to a full boil and then put them in there and keep it hot. I hope those two screenshots came through with the whipping cream and the mashed potatoes with milk variations, because the ratio of, the portion of how much whipped cream or how much heavy cream or how much milk to use with the mashed potatoes varies. So we're going to go ahead and boil now. So we're going to go ahead and take the lid off here, and then we're going to go ahead and put these potatoes in. Now we're just waiting for this to go up a little bit to a little bit more of a boil, but we're going to then take it down to low, or like a simmer, and we're going to let it sit around there in between low to about 15 minutes or so, until we can test these to see if they're ready to go and they're cooked. So I mean, this right here is a little bit too aggressive of a boil, so we're going to go ahead and turn it down, and we're going to get it down to about close to very low, close to whatever your simmer is. And you should see this kind of go down a little bit, but it should still remain boiling lightly. And we're going to leave that for about 15 minutes. So we're going to put our timer on here for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and test these. And I'm going to show you how we test these with a knife or a fork. Basically, you just stab them and they fall off when they're close to cooked or cooked. I'm going to go ahead and add some salt, some pepper. You don't want to add too much, but also you don't want to add too little. So get it in there. I'm more of a salt fan, not a huge fan of pepper, but we're going to keep letting this lightly boil until it gets done here. So yeah, we're going to put some of this stuff in. It's some good stuff. I had to turn my stovetop up a little bit because it was not boiling as much as I wanted it to, so just to bring it up a little bit more, I turned this up. So that's a pretty good example. So when you poke them, these ones you can feel there's a little bit left, but normally when they fall off of the knife in the water, they're pretty done. Or before at least they're out of the water fully, because these ones, they're just about done, but we've only got about 3 minutes left. So that's how you can tell if they're done or not. So I went ahead and put it on for just another 5 minutes since these weren't fully done. And then I'm going to test them again and we should be good to go. So I actually turned my temperature back up again because you have to be careful. It might get too low and then not cook the potatoes enough. Now these potatoes, they feel like kind of if you poked like a hard banana right now, and they really want to feel like almost hollow, like you push right through, and so they break apart and chunk in half and stuff. And so you can also do it with a fork if you don't have a knife. So I hope this is helpful, but you know, there's a lot of ways to test and basically ensure that you cook these potatoes fully. So the other thing is as well, with the amount of potatoes we're cooking, we're going to significantly reduce our proportions of cream, milk, and butter. So normally people cook a lot more potatoes than this. So you have to keep that in mind because it's like in those screenshots before, a half a cup to a cup per pound to 2 pounds of potatoes. And here we've got at least a couple pounds maybe at most, but that's a lot of milk and whipping cream. So it's kind of like you do as much as you want really, but it's mostly cream for, I believe, like texture, milk for taste, something like that. But the milk is more for taste and cost efficiency because it's so much cheaper. So if you have milk, you know, the fatter the milk, it's going to enhance that taste and texture, I guess you could say. So anyways, that's something to keep in mind because we're going to be using this kind of milk. We've just got organic, grass-fed, whole milk, vitamin D milk, and we've also got this natural heavy cream. So we don't have as much of this, but we're going to try out both variations to see how they taste. All right, much better now. They go right in and out. So we're going to go ahead and turn this off. And anybody ever watch the Macy's Day Parade? The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade? Doing rehearsals right now on it. Anyways, make sure to check it out. So we're going to go ahead and throw this in a colander or a strainer, whatever you prefer to call it. And the goal is we want to get all the water off of it because it's not going to help us much with the flavor we're going to get from the other things in it and the seasonings. So I'm going to let this sit for just a sec, and we're going to go ahead and throw this back in that little pot. I'm going to use this little doodad here to, you got it, mash it up. Now we're going to mash it up, and so here's what we're going to do. We don't have a ton of potatoes here, so we're going to split in half. We're going to put a little bit of cream, butter in one, a little bit of milk, butter in another one, and that's basically it other than just adding these seasonings. Now, You'll notice when it gets to, well, after you're done mashing, you don't have to mash it forever, but once you're actually mixing in the other stuff with a spoon, if it gets too creamy or too wet, you need to slow down and not add any more stuff. So it's always better to probably add more butter and less on the milk and cream, because you can literally make it soppy and wet. So just keep that in mind, because that'll make it to where you don't mess this up no matter what. Okay, now that we're done with this, we're going to go ahead and remove this, and then we're going to break this into two. We're going to add some milk, butter, cream, butter, and we're just going to add our seasoning here pretty soon, but we're going to separate a portion of it just to have two different kinds. For the sake of this video though, what we'll do is we'll just do this one with milk, because I want to keep this a little bit shorter, make it easier, because most people have milk. So we've got our butter in there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually mix the butter up first, but I'm going to put in a little bit more of this garlic seasoning salt. We don't need to go to town, but you know, you never have enough salt. Alright, now we're just going to kind of stir this together and distribute this butter around first. And then we're going to drop the milk in there, and we're going to add it till we get to whatever consistency we want. Now you can add cheese, all kinds of stuff to this if you want, but I would just add whatever seasonings you like and then stick to butter. If you like a creamier, I guess, thicker kind of, but at the same time softer mashed potato, cream instead of milk, but it's more expensive. So you can see it already is starting to look like mashed potatoes. I already tasted it's delicious, and we're just going to add a little bit of milk here just because I'm not a huge fan of milk. So, you know, they said about half a cup for a cup of potatoes, but we're going to go for even less than that just because I think this is good. So thank you for watching. I hope you guys liked it. These are going to be amazing. I already know, because I tried them without any of the seasoning and the butter and the milk. So anyways, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. It's free and helps the channel, helps me support me. So thank you for watching. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.